Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Kite Man, Hell Yeah, Season 1, Episode 2. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So it's the grand reopening of Nona, which is it Nona? Nuna, whatever the case may be. Side note, did not realize that character is voiced by Jonathan Banks. I didn't notice that till this episode. It's a fucking Mike from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Either way, the reopening and they're hiring servers. There's Six Pack who's there all the time, but he's like 99% something. He's also going to want equity, but it's like, we're just hiring him as a server. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to pass out right now. I love that... He doesn't have any voice lines in the episode, but he's there as a cameo. I do like that we get a little polka dot man throughout the episode. He pops up like 2 or 3 times. But initially, Bane gets the job. Kite Man didn't want to give it to him because he wants to have like someone cool to draw and make more people come at their spot because it's cool. But because he wants to work for free, it's going to just work for tips. Golden Glider was like all about that whole situation. So... But they get visited by Malice, which at first I didn't... It wasn't until later on when they kept saying the Cheshire name. I was like, oh, I get it. Cheshire Cat, Malice, Alice. I was like a whole Alice in Wonderland motif going on there. I didn't know what her circumstances were. I was like, well, because there's also is an Alice in... Because obviously there's the character from Batwoman, which is based on a character from the DC Comics. There is like an Alice character with an Alice in Wonderland motif and aspect. So I guess like there's a different version, another character that kind of shares that same motif. Didn't the Mad Hatter have a sister called Alice in Gotham? I don't think those characters are connected directly. I don't know if they ever are, whether that's just something they did for Gotham or are they connected in the comics too. Either way. She's kind of like this very uppity, popular girl being like, oh, I'm on phone with Beyonce, or like Solange, or she was even saying like, Solange, call me back, or whatever. And it's so interesting that that Golden Glider has such beef with her. It's just, in her mind, she's imagining it's like, right, you're everything she hates, the popular girl, which makes me wonder, like, is that like, oh... Golden Glider admits it stems from her insecurities, but I wonder if she always been like the unpopular person. Maybe that's also why her and Kite Man are so good together, because they're kind of the unpopular loser couple, which once again just makes them that much more like sweet and endearing. But Kite Man is all about trying to impress his dad. He's like, I've sent him RSVPs. He's like, yeah, he didn't RSVP to my wedding, this or that. He shows up. Sometimes I was like, that's sad that it's not even his mom he's trying to get love from, it's his dad. It's like, you're not even trying to get love from one parent, you're from both parents, you're just trying to get it from one. I'm like, that's extra sad. But also Golden Glider doesn't know anything about Malice, and it's just so content with like taking her down a peg or two, because it's like, oh, I hate people like you who think you're so good. It's like, fine, I'm gonna get Lex to show up at my party, which he agrees to. But at first he was like, oh, he's only doing that just to make sure that he wanted to say that, but he was going to throw his own party to counter theirs, because he wants to make sure that that bar stays a shithole. That way no one actually shows up, because the anti-life equation, you need to make sure like it stays hidden and not draw too much attention to the place. So funny enough and ironic enough how all that works out. I mean, first you have like Bane, who's quit his job working for Lex at the Legion of Doom, and kind of told what he told Lex, put on a swim cap and go fuck himself. And it's like, because Golden Glider made that unilateral decision to hire him, even though Kite Man was like, nah, like that dude doesn't give off cool or whatever, and he wanted to hire Malice. I thought it doesn't become much of an issue this episode, but it's like both of them have different ideas on how they want to run the business. So obviously that point of contention ends up being in the hiring process for a server. So there's that. And Bane, after not getting hired, ended up finding out, oh, I didn't get the job, now decides like, oh, he's trying to like worm his way back into being Lex's good graces. That doesn't work. there's a whole situation with the Cheshire Cat when it gets away because what was the line from the one of the two guys that stuck together, was his name Mo, was he talked about the fact his golden glider was like, oh, someone take care of that cat, so he took the cat out back in the alley, tried to shoot it, but the thing's bulletproof. So I was like, oh, that's interesting, and it proceeded to murder people and got bigger as a byproduct. And I love that golden glider was like, wait, why would you do that? He's like, you told me to take care of it. She's like, I meant just like leave it outside. He's like, oh. She's like, wait, when I told you to take care of my succulent, he's like, yeah, I took it out back and filled it with some holes. He's like, whoa. When I asked you to take care of my nephew, she's like, I took him to Six Flags. He's like, oh, I gotta take care of something. I love it. And then later on, what was that line I loved so much where he was like, oh my God, like, this is so ironic. I'm about to get eaten by a pussy. And Melissa's like, you've never eaten a pussy in your pathetic life. He's like, I know, that's why it's ironic. I love that. I also love the whole Queen of Fable story where, like, Gus's hamster, which is kind of like, oh man, like for his kindergarten class, it got eaten, and so they just like put the Queen of Fable's head in it. It was a quick solution by Golden Glider just to slap her head inside the cage. It's like, fine, cool, it works out. Queen of Fables got put back in some form of container, and also it makes up for the fact is the hamster got eaten by the cat. He takes her to class, and it's like, it's so interesting. We get some insight into him as a teacher. He's drinking, like, what was it? He said, like, milk or something. He said it was something, and he was like, actually, it's a White Russian. So it's like, oh, you drink at school. You're a shitty teacher, aren't you? And like, what do you actually do? Because he was like, it's a specific type of school where it's like, you don't really teach. It's more play than anything. And so it's like, oh, let the Queen of Fable tells like a funny story or whatever. And the little kid being like, oh, she can't tell a funny story. She's a woman. I was like, Jesus, Kenneth, you misogynistic piece of shit. And then she told a story, and he was like, wait, you just did Hansel and Gretel, but instead you changed one of the kids' names to Kenneth. Also, my middle name is Thomas, not bitch. And so they find out about Kenneth's mom, who's pretty good shape, butterface, but pretty good shape, and the Queen of Fables wants to hijack her body. So what happens to Kenneth's mom? Is she just a head now? I mean, granted, like, the Queen of Fables is not human, so she has power, so maybe that makes it she can survive as a head. I don't know if the same thing's applicable for oh yeah, I even love that line from he was like, my mom's gonna go full Karen because that's her name. Because I'd almost wondered for a second, was his mom going to end up being like a superhero or something? It's like, no, she's just Karen, namesake and all. Which I also love, that just showing you how much of a piece of shit, why Kenneth is a piece of shit that he is, that she's like, oh, someone's trying to join her group. She's like, well, can't have this be too diverse, so we're going to have to make sure this particular lady doesn't join the group. So, yeah, it's kind of sad that Kenneth's mom, I mean, I wouldn't put it past the Queen of Fables. Not only did she take Kenneth's mom's body, but also killed Kenneth, because she's the one that was trying to teach Harley the whole thing in season 1, I believe. Yeah, I think it was season 1. The whole, like, yeah, you want to kill the whole family because you don't want to leave anyone alive that can come back, to get revenge. So you got to end the bloodline. So she's kind of from that perspective. So I could definitely see her killing Kenneth just for the purpose of making sure he doesn't come for revenge later. Who knows if she's going to keep that body, whether she's going to, like, something terrible is going to happen to the body, and so she's going to have to constantly search for a new body throughout the entire show, or whether she's just going to keep Karen's body for the rest of the season. It's going to be interesting to see, like, what the follow-through for this whole bit ends up being, whether that's a permanent bit or not. Oh, God, there was the things on the TV. What were they? Oh, yeah, Two-Face explains, like, his complex skin routine. Cheetah confronts the whole what was it, the affair allegation. She's like, I'm a cheetah, not a cheater. I was like, shit. And then they were gonna say something about Toyman, but it cut off because Lex had made a whole public thing about the party he was throwing. So I love that Bane was able to get in because he didn't want to go back to like doing clown show and balloon stuff for kids parties, but he does, and he actually made Ben Franklin and the bouncer let him in. It was actually really cute. He kind of put it in his pocket after smiling. I was like, oh, good on him. And said guy ends up getting killed later on and gets chomped in half by the cat. I was like, oh, that sucks. No random character is safe in this damn universe. I'd love to, like, I'm sure it's somewhere on the internet what the general on-screen body count is. Like, someone's definitely tallied that. But I love how everything kind of works together with each other. Like, the fact of the matter is that the cat was terrorizing the town and then proceeded to attack the Legion of Doom party. But, you know, they wanted to stop. It took Kite Man convincing Golden Glider, like, we need to stop this because this cat is attacking the Legion of Doom and we don't want to go to war with the Legion of Doom. Plus, it's wearing a onesie that is advertising our bar, so they'll know we're responsible, which Lex noticed that, so it probably will lead to some beef. Granted, he can't do too much because they are unwillingly and unknowingly housing the anti-life equation, so he probably won't do anything to the bar, but he'll probably do everything he can to continue to screw them over. So, but that all kind of blew up in his face because now their bar has become much more successful because the cat was good advertisement around town. It was like unintentional, so it all kind of worked out. People from Lex's party made their way to the bar and everything. So, but it was also this beautiful moment between Kite Man and Golden Glider. And just like, yeah, they're trying to draw the cat away. And I love that whole thing of like, she's like, I don't want to admit it. He's like, oh, you're a little turned on. She's like, yes, but also we need Malice's help. There was a line from last episode I remember that was kind of along those same lines when she used her powers and was killing people. Kite Man's like, man, this is like the most turned on I've ever been. I was like, you guys are so weird. Because they try to like fix each other's issues. She's like telling him not to be so all about his dad because it's like, your dad is a piece of shit. He doesn't deserve you. You're great. And then Kite Man's like, right, you don't have to compare yourself to Malice. Like, the fact is you're smart and amazing in all your own ways. So both of them are so busy trying to... He's trying to impress his dad. She's trying to impress Malice because once again, Malice like summons up all those insecurities in herself. So... And when the time came, like initially, Kite Man was going to fire her. I actually did fire her because he's like, I only hired you just to impress other people, and the only person I need to impress, they're like, yes, we get it, your dad. He's like, no, my loving glider. I was like, once again, that's so sweet. I also love that we did it. He's like, no, we did it. He's like, wait, nope, never mind. You already said that. Never mind. Just kiss me, you know. But in actuality, Darkseid shows up, not realizing how close to the anti-life equation he is. Not unless he knows, and maybe that's secretly why Malice was sent here. Like, maybe it wasn't an accident. Maybe this is all orchestrated. Doesn't seem like it. Because at first I was like, whoa, is she Darkseid's kid? But he's like, no, she's someone I took in. Like, your parents would be so disappointed at you and stuff like that. Which, you know, Golden Glider, despite her issues with Malice, it's like she doesn't like anyone talking down to somebody like that. It's like, oh, knowing like, right, I don't like her, but she doesn't deserve being talked down to like that. Because we don't know anything about Golden Gliders. I mean, other than her family, like, once again, Captain Cold, but we don't know about their parents, or, like, were their parents, like, maybe that's also why she's very defensive of Kite Man. I mean, to be fair, she's defensive of him with anyone talks shit about him, but specifically when it comes to his dad. And so I think she can be a very protective person when it comes to people, you know, she starts to care about in life. So she tried to play it up like, oh my God, Malice, she's handling social media for the bar, and it was actually her idea. And Darkseid's like, oh, that's actually pretty dope. And he's hanging out in a bar and stuff like that. I love when he had his entrance, there's like a choir and stuff. He's like, yeah, that's why you don't want to bring a choir from hell, because he's like, this is just too much. You're just singing Darkseid over and over again. And so, yeah, I love that whole bit. So if you look at the promotion for this, or just one of the poster promotion that's for this, Malice's character is there. And like I said, I didn't have any idea who she was. I didn't know she was going to be a character I knew, just didn't know aesthetically. But it's like, no, I'm not familiar with this character at all, but still, that's the fun of these shows and stuff like that. Like, oh, getting some like deep cuts on, maybe she's a deep cut character, maybe she's not, maybe it's just a thing of, if you're decently well aware of DC Comics, you know her, maybe she is a deep cut, whatever the case may be. You just be able to kind of have fun with the continuity and kind of do whatever the hell you want, you know. And like I said, we are getting our regulars like Mo, because once again, isn't the one that's Dead Joe, and then obviously the Queen of Fables, and also Gus. So like we're getting our supporting cast just like we did in the Harley Quinn show. So because pretty much everyone else is goon level, which is interesting considering like everyone in Harley's lane are like well enough villains. Like, once again, I'm not familiar with Dr. Psycho, but he's a big enough villain, and obviously Poison Ivy's like pretty up there with Harley. Obviously Harley like is like amongst this show's villains, like next to Joker, Harley is probably the biggest DC villain. I'd say Harley is more more well known than Lex. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I'd assume popularity wise, like I don't think she'll ever like outclips the Joker popularity wise, but I think she has like put herself as like number 2 in like maybe all comics, but definitely amongst DC. She's probably not in all, definitely not in all comics like villain wise, but at least like DC wise, she's kind of like cemented that for herself. So I was about to say like most of that squad you have once again it's King Shark too, so it's like there's enough there where, but like everyone else here is just like regular goons that maybe they are people from the comics, or maybe they're just regular goons they made into characters for this show. Like, I don't know if Gus is anyone important. It doesn't seem like he would be. The 2 mobsters, I don't know if those are characters from the comics or not. I really quickly Googled it. Mo and Joe are straight up from the comics. It's probably one of those very, very obscure characters in the comics. Once again, just being able, it's like, oh, that can't be something from the comics. You just have to accept literally everything and everyone except for like very specific characters are probably, I mean, like I said, Gus, we don't know his name, could actually be a character from the comics, but it's probably not. It's probably someone they made for the show. But it's like, no, Mo and Joe are from the comic. Oh, yeah, like it all works out for kind of wrapping everything up. It all ultimately ends well for Bane too, because now he's the bouncer, still working for tips. Which I'm like, do bouncers actually work for tips? I don't know anyone that's a bouncer in real life. I just assume like, no, you have a minimum wage. Like I wasn't expecting. I mean, do they get tipped? I would assume not, unless someone's like trying to pay to get inside a club or something. I'd assume that would be it, but maybe he's going to be working for free and he just got swindled into this whole situation, not realizing like, oh, I actually as a bouncer don't get tipped. But like I said, maybe that's a misconception on my part. Like I said, everything turned out pretty okay at the end of all of this. The question now becomes, can they keep this up? What new challenges await our wacky cast as they continue down this route of owning his bar? Just more fun shenanigans in this world. I'm excited to see where the next episode ultimately ends up taking us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.